You don't need the entire idea to start writing a book. All you need is this seed that will propel the story forward. And in this video, I am going to go through the 5 most common questions that authors ask themselves when they feel like they want to write, but they don't really have an idea on what to write. I'm also going to teach you what you can write, even when you feel like you don't have anything uh, any idea yet. And stick around to the end, because at the end of this video, I'm going to share some of the biggest worries that I see writers having out there. Hello, my name is Natalie. I'm an author and a growth marketer, and I give practical writing and publishing advice for authors who want to finish better books, build a real readership, and grow a sustainable author career. And the first question that I see pop up everywhere when authors or writers feel like they really want to write, but they have no idea where to go, is the fact that they think they need to have everything figured out before they start writing. And if you ask me, that is not my experience, that I need everything in place when I start writing. Sometimes all I do is that I have a super interesting character and I just want to follow along and see where they're going, what's going on, where they're heading. Or maybe I have a super interesting question nagging at the back of my brain and I want to explore, I want to see where it will take me. You don't need to have a finished, like having everything figured out. Let yourself loose for a while and be a pantser for once in a while. I can say this. I mean, I myself am a rigid plotter. I plot each and every single story I write. But at the beginning of my writing career, I was a pantser. I just sat down, started writing, and see where it went. And that gave me so much joy because I got to know the characters. I learned so much about the world that I was writing about. And sometimes that is exactly what you need to do. You need to give yourself permission to have fun and just play and follow the white rabbit down the hole. And if you've never written stories before, I would say that starting with yourself, maybe it's a memory that inspires you, maybe it's an old friend that you lost touch with, or something like that. That can really, really help you spark your imagination and just trying different things. And also something that I personally do when I don't know what to write is that I use writing prompts. I created this 66-day writing challenge for writers who want to have a consistent writing routine, but they don't know what to write. They don't have a story yet, or they're in between projects, or whatever it is. And in this daily challenge, you get to try and write in different POVs. You get to learn how to create emotions. You get to learn a lot about the different plot points and so forth. It's a really fun challenge. I usually do it myself every now and then, but try that if you don't know what to write. Follow a prompt and see where it takes you. Let it inspire you, and you know what? It might spark the idea for an entire story. It did for me when I took a fantasy writing class at university, and one of the prompts that we did for that class is what inspired or sparked the idea for the entire book, Library of Eternity, which is a dark academia fantasy novel that I have released both in Swedish and in English. So you never know where this might take you. So I challenge you to just try, lean in and see what happens. The second question I wanted to address that is very common when you don't know what to write is, what is the easiest book to write? And the easiest book to write might be something that comes out of your own experience, a memoir. Maybe it is, I don't know, a memory, a short novella, or maybe even a nonfiction book that takes inspiration from your life. The easiest book to write is usually one that is closest to your own curiosity, experience, or imagination. But you need to have in mind that the easiest book to write might not be the one that is the easiest to market, because maybe you might not have product market fit yet. You might not know what the readers want yet. And this is important for you to understand if you're trying to build a serious author career. If you're just writing for fun, then write whatever you want. But if you are trying to create writing as a career, you need to have in mind that writers have expectations, and you need to understand different genres and genre expectations. And you can't just think about what is the easiest to do, because honestly, having an author career and having a writer career is not the easy choice. You will have to work so much. You will have to put in hours and hours of writing, of marketing yourself, of understanding business and sales and stuff like that. And that will take time. It will take energy. But hopefully it will be worth it, because you will also share your stories and experiences with the world. And that in itself is amazing. I mean, that's why I love reading, because I want to see and understand other people. I want to immerse myself into other worlds. And I also want to give that back to the reading, to other readers. So yeah, just have in mind that don't just try to make any shortcuts when you don't know what to write. You can also break this into categories, because what is easiest emotionally might be a memoir-inspired fiction or some sort of personal essay. What is easiest when you look at the structure, that could be a how-to nonfiction, maybe a list-based nonfiction, a romance novel, mystery, or some sort of quest where like the beats are super clear, and you know that after 25% this is supposed to happen, after 50% this will happen, and so forth. But what is easiest to market, that is a book with a clear genre, a clear promise, trope, or reader problem. But what is the easiest book to finish? That is a book that you care about, that you yourself want to write. So if you're searching for what is the easiest book to write, I would say that it is the one you want to write in your heart. The third question that I see writers asking is, can I write a book if I'm not a writer? Now I want you to listen to me. You are a writer if you write. You don't need to have a book published or multiple books published to call yourself a writer or an author. If you write on a regular basis, you are a writer. That's it. I sometimes see people saying, oh, I'm an aspiring author, I'm an aspiring writer. Well, for me, someone who is an aspiring something, that is someone who wants to be a writer, but is not writing right now. So if you want to write, but you're not writing, then yeah, sure, you're an aspiring writer or an aspiring author. But if you are writing on a regular basis, if you are trying to create stories, then you can call yourself an author and a writer. Don't put yourself down by thinking that you're not a writer, because you are. Yes, there is a difference between being published and not being published, but at the end of the day, being published in itself is not the goal. The goal is for us to evolve our craft, evolve our art when it comes to writing and creating, and immerse ourselves in the worlds and the stories that we want to tell and teach others. So if you want to write a book, sit down and do it, and don't think about the semantics about it. And the fourth question that I hear a lot of people asking is, how do I come up with ideas when I don't have any? So now I'm going to give you a few idea generations so that you can pick whichever fits you and actually sit down and start writing. So the first one is the obsession list. What do you keep watching videos about? What conversations make you come alive? What topics do people ask you to talk more about? What are you always researching? What makes you angry, curious, or emotional? And how do you turn this into a book? Well, you turn this into a book by writing about something that you're very curious about. And where your curiosity starts, that could be the hook for the entire story. Idea generation number 2 is the problem list. And this is especially good if you want to write nonfiction. So ask yourself, what problem do I have to solve? Am I currently solving? What do I wish that someone had explained to me? What mistake do I see people making? What do beginners in the world or in the field that I'm in need to know? The third generation is the what if question. And this is one of my personal favorites, because I love the what if and the concepts that you can draw from the what if question. So here you can ask yourself, what if a woman discovered that her memories were not her own? What if two enemies had to fake a marriage to survive? What if a small town could only tell the truth for one day? What if a failed writer became famous for a book they didn't write. Now, all of these have the seed to become potential great plots. So feel free to use any of them. I'm sure you're gonna write amazing stories with it. And method number 2 is the character first method. So here you will start with the character and their drives and needs. I want you to ask yourself, who is someone I want to follow for 300 pages? What do they want? What are they hiding? What are they afraid of? And what would force them to change? And this also answers one question that I keep see popping up every now and then, and that is, can I write a story without an actual plot? And yes, of course you can. There are a lot of stories that are character driven, where the entire story is based around the fact that the character has to go through inner change. So don't be afraid to write those kinds of stories, because those are the ones that will move us the most, because they show us that we ourselves have the potential to change and become better people, to evolve into the next stage and, you know, overcome our things that hinder us. Method number 5 is the remix method, where you mix existing ideas into a completely new story. So an example of this could be that maybe you take your favorite book, your favorite TV series, and your favorite movie and mix them all together. What would happen if Off Campus was set at a magical school instead of an ordinary university, but you mix it up with a ghost that is haunting them or whatever it is? Like, take existing ideas and mix them up. And when I talk about this, I get the question, but what if I write something that is too similar to something that already exists? And I hear you. I know that this is a big fear. The fear of plagiarism is very big amongst new writers. But here's the thing. Still, like an artist, you can become inspired by other people. You can become inspired by other books, by other works of art. This does not mean that you steal from them, because you and me, we could write we could write a story from the exact same prompt. We could even have set up like character sheets. We would know all the beats in the of the entire story, but we would still we would still write completely different stories. So this is very important, that you know that it is okay to become inspired by others, but you cannot do an entire, you can't copycat them. You can't copy the entire Game of Thrones series and say that you wrote it. And you can't, you should not use AI to try and write similarly to some other author. Instead, do your own thing, because that is what the reader wants. They want your version of Cinderella or whatever story you're trying to tell. And at the end of the day, there are some that say that there are only 8 plots that we keep on rewriting all again and again and again. And the same thing when it comes to the hero's journey, is that is basically the same story that we're telling again and again, but in different settings with different characters, but it's still almost the same adventure. So don't be afraid of being inspired by other works of art, because this can be what gives you the best story of your life. And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any follow-up questions, or if there's anything specific that you're struggling with in your own writing right now. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.